So I don't know what's crazier. Is it the fact that the tallest building in the United States is about to be in Oklahoma? Is it that that dude who created the Fyre Fest is now using the Bentley condo tower in Miami to promote his latest event? Or is it that Trump just got ordered to pay over $350 million for supposedly inflating his assets? Spoiler alert, they're all crazy stories. In today's episode, let's dive into the top real estate headlines from the past couple of weeks. Now, this one definitely caught my attention. There is a California real estate developer who is proposing to build the tallest skyscraper in America, and he wants to do it in Oklahoma. The tower would be a part of a much bigger commercial complex called the Boardwalk at Bricktown, and this proposal does still need the green light from city officials. But as far as I'm reading, this is not just some pipe dream. This concept might actually come to fruition. For reference, some of the tallest buildings in the United States right now are the Willis Tower in Chicago. This one is 1,450 feet tall. Then we've got Central Park Tower in New York. This one stands 1,550 feet tall. And the tallest building in the US right now is One World Trade Center. This one is 1,776 feet. Well, in Bricktown, Oklahoma, the developer originally submitted plans last year for this complex, which would have had a 1,750 foot building as the centerpiece. Not bad. That would have been like 25 feet shorter than One World Trade Center. But they just increased the height of the proposed tower to 1,907 feet. That would make it taller than One World Trade by a whopping 130 feet. Pretty wild, although no offense to Oklahoma, but I'm trying to figure out why we need a 1,900 foot skyscraper in Oklahoma. The tallest building in the area right now is the Devon Tower, which stands just 844 feet tall. So basically every other building in Oklahoma City would be dwarfed by this new Bricktown skyscraper. The architectural firm AO is behind this one, and they definitely have experience with designing some very large mixed-use projects all around the US. Unfortunately, on their website, there aren't many renderings for the Bricktown complex, but you can see in these pictures it's going to be a bunch of shops and activities on the lower levels, with the upper levels being a combo of hotel and residential units. Over here, it tells us the development will be 2.7 million square feet in total, sitting on almost 4 acres. Now, I really hope that this build happens. I'm sure it'd be great for the local economy, and it would definitely be fun to follow, but I think there's probably two things that could hold this whole thing up. For one, the developer, Scott Madison, is almost completely unknown. A few people tried digging into his past, and as it turns out, we know more about the development here than we do about the developer. Typically, when you see a development like this proposed, the guy behind the development has a pretty solid resume. Then another important factor to note is that in order to pull this off, the property will need a full rezoning, which requires approval from the local planning commission and the city council. Oklahoma City might look at this proposal as a net positive for the city as a whole, so who knows? The rezoning might get approved, but I would guess that it is going to be a long road between now and when this thing is actually built. Moving on from the tallest skyscraper in the United States, let's talk about the most expensive home for sale in the United States. It was just listed. They want $295 million. Apparently, this financier guy, John Donahue, was flying above Naples, Florida in the 1980s when he spotted some random uninhabited piece of land. He pointed to it from his plane, saying that he wanted to go there. He went and checked it out, and by 1985, he paid $1 million for this 4.3 acre parcel. They went on to build 3 houses on this plot of land over the course of like 25 years, and the property at this point is an absolute compound. For the price, a cool $295 million. It's at 100 Bay Road. They say it's only 6 bedrooms, which I find that hard to believe with this many houses. 24 bathrooms though, and about 23,000 square feet. Down here in the description, they tell us that this place includes a private 231-foot yacht basin. I'm gonna be honest, guys, I don't even know what the heck a yacht basin is, but it sounds fancy. And I guess surrounding the entire point that it's located on here, you get 1,655 feet of water frontage. That's awesome. So from the drone shot, I'm going to guess that this is the main house here in the back, and then these two smaller ones are the guest houses. Apparently the original family who lived here came up here and visited the place all the time, and they hosted these big parties. I read that they hosted George Bush, Arnold Palmer. It's funny, the guest house is like probably 5 times the size of the average house in America. For some reason, there's only a few photos on Zillow, but on the properties website, we got some more. So here's like an aerial shot of the plot of land. Even though there's only 3 houses here, they're saying you could subdivide it into 7 lots if you want. They've got an option showing if you were to subdivide it into 4 lots. And then if you really want to get crazy, you can actually cut this thing up into 9 total lots. If you were to do that, though, you would have to tear this house down. For $300 million, you're almost on your own island, but I mean, check it out. So here's the property. You've got some pretty close neighbors. I don't know why they don't show us any photos of the inside. There's just a bunch of photos of either the beach or just like the stuff to do around the property. They're probably trying to keep the interior photos pretty private. I get that, but amazing place. Now, we've talked about some big listings here on the channel in the past. I mean, in reality, we've dove into almost all of them the past couple of years. Like there's that penthouse for sale at Central Park Tower. The last list price over there is $195 million. There's that other penthouse at 220 Central Park South that Ken Griffin bought for $238 million. There's the Tarpon Island property in Palm Beach that was once listed for $218 million, but the price on that one has now come down to $187 million. And last year we had Jay-Z and Beyonce drop $200 million on a modern mansion in Malibu. Surprisingly, quite a few properties have either been listed or sold at around that $200 million mark, but 295 is a whole nother level. We'll see what happens. Okay, this next story is going to seem a little bit dry, but just bear with me because this is crazy. So Santa Monica City Council has just approved some new tenant protections that are going to make it very challenging to be a landlord out there going forward. The mayor issued a statement around this saying that renters make up the majority of the Santa Monica community, and it's critically important that families who make up the fabric of their city have the ability to stay there. Then Taylor Avakian on Twitter summed up these tenant protection changes pretty good, telling us that if an owner increases rent on a tenant by CPI plus 5 or 10%, then the owner must pay a relocation fee if the renter chooses to move. Another part of this is if a renter out here vacates and claims that it was due to harassment, illegal lockouts, or uninhabitable conditions, the owner will be required to pay a permanent relocation fee. And there's also a situation where owners or landlords are going to be required to offer buyout agreements to no less than the city-defined fees, which we'll get to in a second. So that's pretty confusing, but there's 2 layers to this. One of them being if you're a landlord and you raise your tenant's rent by over that threshold, then you need to pay this relocation fee. Or if you're a landlord who has a tenant vacate and that tenant just claims that the property wasn't habitable because you didn't maintain it properly or whatever they want to say, then you also need to pay this fee. For a studio unit, the relocation fee the landlord pays to that tenant is $18,250. For a 1-bedroom, the fee would be $25,150. And for a 2-bedroom unit, the fee is $34,950. So if I'm reading this right, what it's saying is that if you're a landlord who just needs to increase your tenant's rent because of inflation or property maintenance cost or maybe property taxes have gone up, then you might need to be required to pay your tenant as much as $35,000 just to move out of your unit. Local realtor Ben Ballack featured this story on his Instagram account, and he got a bunch of comments like this guy who says, why stop there? Why not just let him live for free at this point? This other guy, Jason, says this is why he does all of his real estate investing out of state. Jamie says that this is just completely absurd. And then Jeffrey says, why would anybody buy a rental property there moving forward? This is going to choke supply and increase rent in the long run. Landlords are generally not evil people, and tenants generally are not evil people. So I don't know why we can't just put together a set of laws that's fair for everybody. On a much lighter note, Billy McFarland, that same guy who tried to do that whole failed Fyre Festival thing a couple of years ago, has got a new venture, and he has a bit of a creative way to sell tickets to this thing. I'm sure most of you guys have heard of Fyre Festival, but in case you missed that story, The gist of it is that back in 2017, this guy Billy McFarland and rapper Ja Rule were promoting this massive luxury music experience on an island in the Bahamas. Tons of big bands committed, tons of big influencers were promoting it like crazy, and everybody was expecting Fyre Fest to be the biggest festival ever, like even bigger than Woodstock or EDC or Coachella. Behind the scenes though, Billy McFarland and his team did not put enough thought into the logistics or the infrastructure, so the event was a complete flop to say the least, with not enough food, security, sleeping accommodations, or medical services, which ultimately led to the festival being canceled and Billy McFarland being sentenced to 6 years in federal prison. Crazy story, and there's some really good documentaries about all this online, so if you guys haven't seen those yet, go check them out. It's really unbelievable. But anyways, Billy is now out of prison and he's got a new trick up his sleeve, and he's calling it Fyre Festival II. You heard that right, real creative, but Billy is planning another music festival for the end of 2024 in the Caribbean, and tickets aren't cheap. You're looking at $2,500 for a general admission pre-sale ticket, $5,000 for a VIP pre-sale ticket, and the funniest offering, the Prometheus ticket, which offers you the highest access. It'll cost you $1,022,057.06. According to a TikTok post that Billy just put out, this ticket also comes with a very unique perk.
Good evening, everybody. Today is the big day. We are announcing the details for the $1 million Fyre 2 ticket. This all starts with the legendary developer and king of Miami, Gil Desert. Everybody who has the $1 million Fyre ticket gets 1 month a year for 5 years in Gil's newest building. The Fyre House is going to be home base for all of our Caribbean trips, Fyre 2, Fyre 3, and beyond. This is just the start of unveiling what's going on behind the scenes. We'll see you guys at the party at Gil's new building soon.
What he's talking about here is the Bentley Residences in Miami that I didn't even think were going to be finished until the year 2026. But according to the developer of this skyscraper, what happened is that Billy is supposedly under contract to buy an $8 million unit in this building. And I guess if you buy one of these $1 million tickets to Fyre Festival II, then with that ticket, you get to go be Billy's roommate for 1 month per year for the next 5 years. Very weird, very confusing. I don't know. How many of these tickets do you guys think he's actually going to sell? Now, this story is scary. There are 3 multi-million-dollar homes in Dana Point that appear to be at risk of falling off the cliff and into the ocean. These homes are located on a road called Scenic Drive. You can see the footage of the landslide aftermath here. I guess back-to-back rainstorms caused a big chunk of this bluff to just collapse into the ocean. And while the city mayor says that the residents have not been told to evacuate yet, residents have been told to be on the lookout as a future storm could send these houses into the ocean. Yeah, I don't think I'd be staying there if this was my house. If you look on Zillow and zoom in, it's crazy. Here's the 3 houses right here, just west of the harbor. There's like no other houses that are built in this area, but Zillow estimates them to be worth as much as $14 million. No article I read talked about how exactly they can remediate a situation like this. Like, you're not gonna just wait until the next storm and see if your house falls down the cliff. I'm wondering if you're able to maybe drive down some pilings or some caissons, like way down into the bedrock under the foundation, even though these houses are already built. Could work, but it doesn't seem like a very plausible solution. I get the draw of wanting to live right on the ocean. There's probably nothing like waking up to the fresh ocean air and then getting to sip your coffee, watching the waves crash against the shore. But these places are way too close for comfort, even for me. Last week, a New York judge ordered Trump to pay $350 million in penalties related to that business fraud case. The gist of this trial started when the New York Attorney General filed a lawsuit stating that Trump and company overinflated his assets in order to boost his net worth, which gained him various financial perks over the course of his career. Initially, they were trying to ban him for life from New York's real estate industry altogether. The case is very big and complicated, but but a big part of what they're saying here is that he overvalued some of his properties in his portfolio, like Mar-a-Lago, a building on Park Avenue, another estate in Westchester County, and his penthouse in Trump Tower. I guess in total, they're alleging that he inflated his net worth by around $3.6 billion on his financial statements. Now, I was a mortgage banker for 15 years before I started this YouTube channel, so I kind of follow what they're accusing Trump of here. In super simple terms, if you apply for a loan at a bank, they're going to look at three main things: your credit, your income, and your assets. And the thing is, if your credit, income, and assets are strong, then you're more likely to get approved for a loan. And with that approval, you're also more likely to get more favorable terms on that loan, like, for example, a better interest rate. This explains why somebody like Trump might want to inflate their assets, presumably so that he could get more loans for more real estate deals or get lower interest rates on real estate deals that he was pursuing. Either way, huge financial blow for Trump, although something tells me that this is not going to slow down his whole presidential campaign. This guy is pretty persistent. If you enjoyed the episode today, guys, make sure to hit the like button down below before you go. And also, don't forget to hit subscribe if you're into crazy real estate stories, just like we talked about today. I'm putting new videos out every week. I'll see you next time.